Yerko's coming back on the show to talk about patriarchy again, continuing our series in patriarchy. You're going to love it. The duties of a husband to a wife as the patriarch, and how we can see the repercussions of removing the father from the home in the Industrial Revolution, starting with that. And then we'll go to disciplining your wife. Whoa, now that's a spicy topic. Disciplining your wife. You want to stay tuned for that. And even how the Hebrew word for husband means owner or master. Wow. And then we'll wrap up with how a husband should rule in an honorable manner as the patriarch. You're going to love it. Hey, hit that like button, subscribe, give me a comment below. I love the comments. Been good comments here lately. Give me a comment below. Okay, so patriarchy continued then.
Yeah,
Yurko.
Patriarchy continued.
Yeah.
So the last thing I did last time was go a little into what the responsibilities of a husband are, uh,
Mm,
um, according to Ephesians 5 and 1 Peter 3,
yeah.
right? So just really quickly to go over these. So there's a parallel drawn between the husband-wife relationship and the relationship between Christ and the church. While the analogy breaks down at a certain point because the husband is not Christ, there is a lot of parallels and a lot more parallels than most people would be willing to see or explore, right? Most
Mm.
people just limit it to, he's got to sacrifice for her and
The
give his
servant
life for
leader.
her, and
Yeah, it must be the
yeah,
servant leader. Oh, yeah.
which as far as sacrifice is concerned is true enough, but like you said, it's twisted into this servant leadership model,
Uh,
um,
yeah.
sucking out all of his authority. So
Yeah.
what we have here, right? So yes, he does love her in a sacrificial way, but following the model of Christ, right? Christ loves his church and sacrifices for his church, but he does not abdicate one iota of his authority. So Christ instructs the church, so must the husband instruct his wife,
Mm.
right? It describe there washing her, the word, yeah,
Yeah.
making her holy and washing her with the word,
Yeah.
right? So instruction. So a father is primarily responsible to instruct his children, but also his wife,
Mm-hmm.
right? He's the teacher, right?
Yeah.
There is a type of nurturing that comes from a husband toward his wife in it's called here provision, so provision of obviously physical needs.
Mm.
And no, notice I was talking about needs, not necessarily wants or preferences, right?
Yeah.
So genuine needs that she has, he must provide,
Yeah,
right?
that seems to be a new thing. I
Um,
keep hearing like this probably in the past 3 years. I've never heard this before until probably 3 years ago, but I've heard this financial abuse thing that I never even heard that term before, but now well, I think it's all pretty much all women are the ones complaining that sometimes they are financially abused here in the marriage.
yeah, yeah,
And I'm pretty sure it's not because he wasn't giving them something they actually needed.
yeah, probably. I mean that that is possible. It's possible he's being stingy and not providing what she needs. But I get the impression that the headline today is not really that. Everything would go to hell in a handbasket if he would actually do that in the environment we live in. So nurture. So there's provision, right? There's obviously a relationship. So just like Christ has with his church, there's an intimate relationship. Also the husband with his wife, right?
Hmm.
So that there is an emotional aspect, even though it's not the end all and be all, right, of the marriage covenant. You see this in, for example, Song of Solomon. obviously comforting. He must be present. So just parenthetically, um, much of the problems with what we have today is not only because of egalitarianism, but because the industrial revolution really removed fathers from the vicinity of their homes.
Mm,
Right.
yeah,
So these men, right, they're these husbands and fathers who would sometimes have to leave their homes for some reason or other, but they were generally present and could actually lead the home, lead their wives, lead their children, and would
yeah.
only rarely have to delegate um, teaching or discipline to the wife, right?
Mm,
But after the
okay.
Industrial Revolution, you got men going into the factories, right? So
Yeah.
they start spending most of their time away from their homes,
Mm-hmm.
right? So what that does is it sort of very slowly starts to diminish the importance of the father and replacing and making the mother the primary the one primarily responsible for formation and child rearing. So
Yeah.
that's where our concept of the mother raises the children comes from. All right.
Mm, okay.
You remove the fathers from the home, the mother's the only one left, and so on, right? So
Yeah.
so that
I
that's
wonder
that's the
though, you're so I've heard that argument, Yerko, but I kind of wonder. I don't. I kind of tend to put it more towards like first wave feminism than like going into second wave because
Yeah.
there,
Well, they
I
were
know,
parallel. They were
yeah,
parallel. They both things happened at the same time. So first wave feminism is
yeah,
happening around the same time as the Industrial Revolution. So you get both things like the one-two punch kind of thing. Right?
yeah. And the reason I say that is because I know a lot of people were in an agrarian society where the fathers probably would have been in the homes, in the fields, around the homes. um, or they had maybe like a family business, like a store or a cooper
Hmm.
or a blacksmith or one of those
Yeah.
types of
Yeah.
roles.
Hmm.
But I mean, there's a lot of trades that have been around. Like if you were a seaman, out at sea as some type of sailor or whatever, or you
Hmm.
worked in mines, you may have been away from that. Or if you were a soldier,
Yeah. Yeah. That's
you'd be
uh-huh.
away a lot if you were a professional soldier, with a lot of men were. So that's why
Yeah,
I just
that's
like,
that's true. That's true, of course. And speaking in generalities, right? So generally speaking, among kind of rural people, which was the majority in America,
yeah,
especially in the South. That's what you had, right? But with the Industrial Revolution, right, fathers are sent out to the factories,
yeah,
and they by necessity they're forced to delegate much of their leadership responsibilities to their wives, right?
mm, yeah,
Add first wave feminism to the mix, right? And you get this almost this I call it almost this woman worship at the beginning of the 20th century. You read literature from the
mm,
times,
mm,
and they put women mothers on a pedestal, which is not appropriate. So,
yeah,
which we still have today. Like I mentioned last week, we instinctively Americans instinctively mention mothers first when they talk about parents, right? Which is the
mm,
opposite to scripture.
yeah,
So,
yeah,
getting back to the subject, so fathers, right? There's a certain sense in which he delegates certain things to his wife, but everybody needs to know that he's the leader, right? He's primarily responsible. If she has to teach and discipline because he's not at home, the curriculum and the protocols need to come from him, right?
yeah, yeah,
And when he is present, he needs to get the job done. So discipline, yeah. So speaking of discipline, so yeah, disciplining children, but also um, in a different way, right? A husband also disciplines his wife, right? Um,
Whoa.
so yeah,
Whoa now.
so verbal rebuke, right?
Okay.
Job 2, 9, and 10 is my example.
Hmm.
My main example, there are others, but I usually use Job because Job, nobody can argue that Job was sinning here because it says explicitly in the text that he was not sinning. Uh,
Oh, yeah.
if you
Hmm.
read the passage, right, the context is Job suffering, right? His wife tells him to curse God and die, and Job basically lets her have it. You're talking like a fool.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah.
So and the text says in all of this, Job did not sin with his lips, right?
Yeah.
Which means that a God recognizes a husband's authority to correct his wife in this manner,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Now, I would offer a caveat here with two people like Larry Solomon, for example, that would go beyond this and advocate for wife spanking, um,
Oh, whoa. Okay.
and which is not, in my view, is not. I don't see that in the scriptures,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
I don't see that in the scriptures. Corporal punishment is reserved for two kinds of people in the scriptures: children and criminals.
Hmm.
um, Children who are in formation and criminals as a judicial action by the civil government.
Okay.
So that's the only two instances where I see corporal punishment commanded or shown in scripture.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
the other so but there are different kinds of discipline in other relationships, right? So there's church discipline, there's discipline in the workplace, but it takes other forms, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And in the case of a husband with his wife, right, it takes this form, right? Verbal rebuke, right?
Okay. That's what
Um,
we explicitly see in scripture, verbal rebuke.
Yeah. Oh, interestingly, I wanted to mention this, even though it doesn't have with this is not a husband-wife relationship, but when Jesus in John 2, he's at the wedding in Cana,
Hmm.
right? And Mary comes up to him and says, they ran out of wine, right?
Yeah.
And Jesus says, what is my problem? What is my issue to do with you? I'm paraphrasing it. What is this to do with me? My time has not yet come. So that is a rebuke, right?
Okay.
Relatively a mild one, admittedly, but it is a rebuke,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Here we got and Jesus here is not acting as God, but as an adult son and head of his house, right? Rebuking his mother, right, for being out of order. I pointed this out in one of you. I think I might have pointed this out in one of your videos, or
Okay.
somebody's video anyway. That if an adult son would rebuke his mother like that today in Christian circles, he'd be strongly reprimanded.
Oh yeah. He'd probably
You
be put
don't.
under church discipline or something.
Yeah, yeah. So because we worship women and we worship mothers, right? The church
Yeah.
worship mothers. The church has I use the term church here as meaning all who would profess Christianity, right?
Mhm.
In
Yeah.
America, they have three holy days. Right, so modern Protestant churches have three holy days:
Yeah.
Christmas, Easter, and Mother's Day. Right? When do most people show up to church who don't worship regularly, right? But they
Mm.
they show up on special occasions, right? They always
Yeah.
show up on three occasions: Christmas, Easter, and Mother's Day. Now,
Oh, I hadn't heard that church attendance on Mother's Day is like a lot higher.
intentionally or not, we elevated Mother's Day to a religious holy day,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
America.
Even if you're a single
Um,
mother and never got married. He's
yeah. So yeah, no, not biblical at all. Now, minor children must obey their mothers, obviously, but with adult sons, it's a little different because
Mm.
as a man, right, 1 Corinthians 11:3 is always a frame. Man's the head of woman, right?
Yeah.
So if, especially if the father's dead or gone and he's head of his house, right? He does have authority over her as well. Mm,
Yeah. Okay. That makes sense.
yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mentioned he's the Lord. He's also his wife's Lord and Master. Right? That's what Kurios means, right? In
That
First
Sarah
Peter
called
3.
Abraham.
Yeah, that's what Sarah called Abraham. It
Yeah.
says Kurios in Greek,
Mm,
um, the Lord or Master, ruler, one who has authority, and so on.
yeah.
Interestingly, one of the Hebrew word for husband is Baal, which means husband, Lord, master. That's one of the two main words translated husband in the Old Testament. Owner, right? So all these evangelical feminists will say, no, my husband's not my master, only Jesus is my master. Well, yeah, Jesus is your master in the ultimate sense, but
Yeah.
the Bible teaches that, in a sense, a husband is his wife's master. She belongs to him.
And that's even in the word in the Hebrew.
In the word itself, yeah. Mhm.
Oh, wow. Okay. What about in the Greek? Is it the same way or no?
Yeah, kurios, Lord translated kurios is the same word used to address God, right? Lord or Sir, right? Master.
Oh, that was in the
Right.
Greek too?
Yeah, that is in First Peter 3:6, where Peter says that Sarah called Abraham Lord, right? The
Yeah.
word there is kurios, right?
Okay.
Lord or Master. Now, just a quick response here to an objection. It does say in 1 Peter 3:7 that husband must dwell with his wife in an understanding way or according to knowledge,
Yeah.
giving honor to the wife as unto the weaker vessel, right?
Hmm.
So egalitarians will immediately jump up and say, look, see, he must honor her, right? And honor is immediately interpreted as, he must put her on a pedestal, basically. But no, that's not the meaning of the phrase, right? Honor has two meanings, right? Honor can mean deference showed to a superior. That's how it's used in the previous chapter of First Peter when talking about the king.
Yeah.
But it also means just regular respect paid to a fellow human being, right?
Mm.
Honor all
Okay.
men in also in the same passage. So in this case is
Oh,
respect or
same passage
value.
says that.
Yeah, yeah. This the same passage when it talks about honor the king, it also says honor all men, using the term honor in two different senses. Right.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
Mm.
here is value given to a subordinate, right? In this case, a
Mm.
wife, hence the weaker vessel. So that simply means he's still in authority, he's still a ruler, but he rules in an honorable manner.
All right, that was good stuff. Patriarchy. I hope you guys are liking this series. And in the series of events that we call life, we know for sure that Christ is winning. He is building his church, and the gates of hell will not prevail against it. Until next time, this is the Postmillennial Man